Okay. So Sears Roebuck, when I was growing up, was the big deal. And it's very sad what happened. Very, very sad. When you look at that whole filing that they did last night, to me is very sad. Somebody that is of my generation, Sears Roebuck was a big deal.
It is indeed the end of an era. Sears files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection today in a last-ditch effort to stay alive. Now, the iconic brand, which started back in the late 1880s selling watches, has faced staggering losses and massive debt. The news on the same day that we got mixed results on retail and food sales last month. Now, the headline read of 0.1% was certainly less than expected, but internet was huge, and some lagging sectors made impressive rebounds. I want to bring back Adam Johnson, Paul Dietrich, Art Hogan with us. Adam, let me start with you. There's a part of this report, they call it the control group,
yes,
that was so strong they said it was going to be a stronger positive for the GDP number. So
and it was
a mixed report.
Oh, no, it's a great report, Charles. You know, fine. If you look at the headline, what was it, down 0.1%, that's not what you want to watch. This control group you're talking about basically excludes building products, it excludes gasoline, and then the certain types of food. In other words, it resembles what GDP I'm so excited I can't talk about it. It resembles what GDP looks like. And the fact that that is up 0.5% is huge for us, Charles. You know, I remember back in January talking about GDP going to a 4 handle, and we're now going to be in our third quarter, or I should say second quarter, of GDP being above 4%. I think we're going to get a lot more out of it. It's a great story, Charles.
You know, and let me ask you, Art, it is the end of an era, but it's an end that's been coming for a very long time with respect to Sears. And there's some cautionary tales there, I would suspect, for any retailer out there. And it's not just about Amazon, is it?
No, it really isn't. And I think that if there's a cautionary tale for anybody that's in a leadership position that doesn't listen to the winds of change. So think about Eastman Kodak and Polaroid, you know, something like a BlackBerry or a Palm. You think about companies that don't pivot at the time that, things are changing. So for Sears, it was really, companies like Walmart that came in and started deteriorating their business, and they needed to adjust to that, either get their box size a little bit bigger, be in smarter locations. It wasn't until years later that it was Amazon that, obviously ultimately hurt everybody in retail, and Sears obviously at that point in time was too far gone to have an online strategy. But it's, I think the overarching message is, yeah, it's great to be in first place, and Sears was the #1 retailer in the world, but you also have to adjust to change. When change comes, you have to adjust your business plan to adapt to how things are changing and how consumer demand is changing. Sears just didn't do that. Kind of sad to watch. I think it's probably where I bought my first suit 100 years ago, and
you still have it.
Unfortunately, I won't be able to bring it back now.
Maybe
right, exactly.
today, Charles.
You wore it just for this show. Hey, Paul, the consumer, 2/3 of the economy. This is why this is a very important number. Of course, like all of them, they're sort of backward looking. But we've got some retailers on the screen now that are higher today. You can have Children's Place to that list, Dollar General to that list, Ulta Salons to that list. What do you make of the consumer? We need the consumer to remain confident and to go out there and to continue to spend. Do you think that's going to happen?
Yes. I mean, you have to take these monthly reports in some sort of broader context. Overall, retail sales were up 4.7% year over year, which is great. And when you start seeing those digital shopping and mail order numbers as opposed to the bricks and mortar stores, those were doing great. The only reason restaurants and bars, which took a hit of a 2-year low, was largely because of the hurricane in the Carolinas and the miserable weather we've had for the last month on the East Coast. It's going to come back, but even restaurant and bars are up 7.1% year over year.
Sure.
This is very, very strong, and I think with wages going up, with everyone having a job, you're going to see the retail sales numbers continue to climb.
Let's talk real quick. There's a lot of talk, Adam, with Amazon.
Yes.
Should it be broken up, or will it inevitably one day be broken up? And, I think some political party will do that, or at least attempt to do that. But I also believe that at some point the markets themselves will do this, because we see what happened with Sears. We saw what happened with Woolworths. We have seen time after time after where these behemoths that looked like they could never be stopped ultimately were.
Well, actually, Charles, I hope the company does it. You know, if there are really two businesses at Amazon. There's the Amazon we know, right, which is where you buy the stuff, and then there's Amazon Web Services, which is growing like 60%. You know, and they provide back office not just for themselves, but for so many businesses around the world. I hope they do split those two. Typically, when you do a spin-off like that, you unlock tremendous value within the company. So to answer your question, yeah, I hope that does happen. And by the way, just to hammer this point home about retail sales, this is a great and unique American story. It's the two E's of earnings and employment. This economy is doing so much better than people realize, Charles.
All right, gentlemen.
I love it.